If you're a slightly frustrated Blade, you're in good company this week as we review that 0-0 draw against QPR. Many things improved, but still lacking that killer edge. Welcome back to Where Blades Walk. We've got Dan, Shax, Mark and Connor with us this week. And of course, we're also previewing the Steel City Derby. We've got a little owl who's going to come and join us in a second as well. Behave yourselves. Matt, of course, from... many successful Wednesday podcasts is going to come on and we have a chat about that. Before that, though, Matt, we'll just pop you off for a second. Dan, QPR 0. Did you see any improvements?
A little bit. Clean sheet's always an improvement. Gone to a back four. Created one or two more chances. Nothing major. I mean, we hit post and a couple of decent headers. Their goalies made 2 or 3 really good saves, so I'd say it's a slight improvement. We didn't lose games, so take the positive out of that, really. But yeah, a little bit better. I think having that extra attacker, because I thought Danny Ings were really good yesterday. Having that extra attacker, I think in the long run will help us because at least you've got 2 natural centre halves now rather than the 2 centre halves that playing as inverted fullbacks, if you like.
Yeah. What the point you put up Tanganga, okay, says, look what happens, Chris, when you play Tanganga in his correct position. A clean sheet. It'd be very unwise to move him out of there again. Yeah. Shax, do you agree?
Yeah, I thought Tanganga were better yesterday. He's not a right back, so obviously playing in his actual position, he were decent. It were a bit better yesterday. I mean, but I don't know what the word is. The level was so low. It were difficult to get any worse. So it were a bit better. Yeah, created a bit more, but we've just got an out up front. Tyrese Campbell for me, it's just not fit. He just don't look fit. I'm 40 and do 12-hour days on site, and I reckon I could still outrun him. So like Dan said, Ings were all right. Sarike, McCallum were brilliant, but other than that, it was just a bog standard performance.
Yeah.
I think I think just to touch on what Shax was saying there, like you've got Danny Ings, 34, 35-year-old, running around, pressing all the game energy, and Tyrese just having a lot of jog around, and it doesn't sit right, to be fair, but I don't really want to get on his back that much. But yeah, it's when you've got somebody out running you who's quite a few years older, and you think it's pretty embarrassing.
Good. Mark, this one from iPave Surfacing says, a clean sheet and a good end to the match today. Players looked more lively, and this one I will check you on, they look more organised today. And tie that into the Coventry game, especially the first half. Are they looking a little bit more coached to you than usual?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, obviously yesterday was an improvement, but you're talking about an improvement from nothing, basically. I mean, last year we win that game 1-0 because last year we were more organised and we just had a little bit of a cutting edge, slightly better than we now. But yeah, they were far more organised, and I think bringing Sariki back in, it certainly pushes them back more because he's so unpredictable. They have to worry about defending him rather than where their sort of left-sided player can go free. So yeah, I mean, I would say we were up the pitch more. I think the stats showed we got like 60% possession. So, we were up the pitch. We were playing in their half, but we were just nothing in that final third. Now, I agree with the guys. Ings was running his nuts off and he was making these runs, but the guys around him weren't, and there's only so much he can do on his own because he's got 2-3 defenders on him. You've got to give the guy help. But yeah, in answer to your question, more organised, but we're still missing that 3 or 4 players that are going to win us a game.
Last week's Connor, we were talking about please back Wilder, and thank you to all your comments there, which I think many of you said finally all of you were speaking sense last week, unlike some other things that you have to listen to. We're still getting this though, Connor. David says it was dull, ineffective, insipid. Wilder's recent form update is played 17, won 5, drawn 2 and lost 10. 17 points. This is before and after Sellers. The decline began before last season. Relegation results and performances. Are we? When you go to the games, are you noticing this split in the fan base, even in your seats and in the pubs before games, or is this just social media warriors who don't go to games and not watching you?
No, I'll tell you now, Mark. That David Webster, you don't want to know what I'm going to say about him.
Okay, please don't. Yeah, okay.
He's just one of them that wants to just dig up Wilder all the time. I'm pretty sure it must be a Wednesday fan or something that runs that account, because all he does is going on. Never says out positive. But yeah, I can see from stats point of view. But we had that little blip, and then we recovered from it. He changed formation, and we're playing to up front end of the season, and obviously we picked up. We played well, obviously in playoffs until obviously at final, of course. But a lot of people are slagging Wilder off for instance, playing Tanganga at fullback. We've got one right back at club in Sarike who's very rarely fit. So a lot of the things he's doing, playing players out of position and this and that, a lot of it isn't down to him. His hands are tied, so to speak, in terms of what he's actually got at his disposal. And until January comes around and we can maybe get another right back, a big man up front and everything else that we need in between, like I say, his hands are tied and he can only play what we've got available. Other than that, it's a case of chucking youth players in, but then you chuck a youth player in, they make a mistake, and then all fans, are on the back straight away. So you can't win either way. For me, like I've said it all along, we just need to be in touching distance. Say, for example, if we stay how we are now in 3 points of getting out of drop zone, comes to January, we get a few additions in, results might start to pick up. It's all if, buts and maybes, but that's all football is. You know what I mean? It's very, very subjective, but it just seems that I know we're seeing Norwich, Leicester, all these moving on, and obviously Norwich just got rid of Liam Manning. So you do worry a bit in terms of are they going to start picking up and winning, and then that gap sort of goes further. But I'm happy keeping Wilder.
Cheers, Connor. Right, let's preview then the most depressing Steel City derby that there's going to be in many, many, many years. Delighted to have Matt Johnson with us, who I'm sure many of you know is a journalist for many Wednesday podcasts, and is one of the decent Sheffield Wednesday fans that there are out there. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, tell you what, the state of Sheffield football at the minute is just atrocious, isn't it? It's just painful on all sides of it. But yeah, I'm not too bad, all things considering, Mark, to be honest with you.
These lads, I'm sure, were hoping that Hillsborough was going to be desolate, empty. Do you think, can I ask you, you won't know the answers, but let's pretend that the Shanzia thing hadn't happened. Do you think Wednesday fans would have filled the ground for this fixture regardless and made it bouncing, or do you think even this fixture wouldn't have brought them back?
No, I don't think it would have brought people back to it. I think if buts and maybes the previous owner was still here, I honestly think there would have been a call for a boycott of the game this time round. Now, do I think that would have been observed by everybody? No, because the Middlesbrough game wasn't observed by everybody, the Grimsby game wasn't observed by everybody, the Leeds game wasn't observed by everybody. Yeah, it would have been a really difficult call as a season ticket holder where the previous chairman already had my money, but I'm just grateful that that's not the case this time round, and actually as fans you are able to go to this, because this is what, aside from the 11 idiots who are running around on the pitch in a blue and white shirt and a red and white shirt, it's what makes it is the fan rivalries and the passion, and the animosity that goes between the two fan bases. So yeah, it's like any derby. You want to see fans at it. So I am delighted that there will be fans in the stadium for it.
Yeah. Shax, is all the pressure on United for this one, given the situation at Wednesday?
I think all pressure will be on either side to string 3 passes together, because we're just about as entertaining as watching paint dry. And then Wednesday they're just Wednesday, aren't they? They're handicapped through whatever reason. A lot of it's probably where it's all Chansiri's fault. So they're sort of playing with an handicap, if you like. They've got kids inside, and then they've got people inside that probably shouldn't even be playing football anywhere near this level now. And then you've got us, Wilders. I don't even know. I can't even put us into words. I watch us week in, week out. I don't watch Wednesday week in, week out. But I think Matt and Wednesday fans are going to get a shock at just how bad we are as well, because look, for that bit of improvement against QPR, like Mark said, you're improving on nothing. So if we're getting an extra 5% out of them, that 5% come from being only running at about 5%. So I think but that old saying, it's one for neutrals. I don't think this is going to be for any neutrals. I should imagine they'll be watching some rerun of Fools and Horses or something rather than watching us. But it's just got 0-0 all over it, and a diabolical game of football. But like Matt says, it's still fans are still going to be there and still going to want to win. It's just whether or not who's going to want it more on day. Because quality-wise, I don't think there is any quality in either, to be honest.
Matt, I mean, I can't ask this with these guys here, but has it been the one thing in this season that's kind of kept Wednesday fans going, looking at the other side of Sheffield, at just how bad it is? How bad it is there? I mean, it's bad for different reasons, of course, but are you surprised at what's happened to United?
Am I surprised at what's happened to United since the decisions that were taken in the summer? I'm surprised at how low it's got and how quickly it's got. Am I surprised that the team struggled to adapt under a new manager and a totally different style? Well, there's an argument there for whether there is a style or not under Ruben Sellés. And then going back to Chris Wilder, obviously, post that, not with players who are historically of Chris Wilder's type of making. You know, they're good players. You know, Mark McGuinness obviously spent time at Sheffield Wednesday, was good for us in League One, struggled at Cardiff. You know, Tanganga is a quality player, and any championship club would have been desperate to have him. I looked at the recruitment further up the pitch, you know, to Heath Chong, people like that, and was thinking these are, you know, individually technically very gifted players. They're not the type of recruitment that you would expect to see from a side who have just missed out on promotion, was the way that I took it. And then since Chris Wilder has come back in, it looks like a squad that doesn't really know its identity, which one thing, you know, I'm not a massive Chris Wilder fan by any stretch of the imagination, but one thing that you can, you know, even as a Wednesday fan, you can give him credit for, he creates an incredibly strong identity within his teams when he is able to build them. It doesn't look like that at the minute at United. I watched the Coventry game in the midweek, obviously before the international break, and there was fits and spells of the game where they looked okay, and then would just switch off for spells. And it was almost like watching in terms of the footballers that are on there, just a higher paid and a better quality of footballer in a blue and white shirt, to be perfectly honest with you. I agree with Shax. I think it's going to be an appalling game of football to watch. My kind of hope for it, Mark, is that because it's so bad that people just start flying into one another and like really have a go for it, to be perfectly honest with you, from both sides. Because, you know, as Shax said, neither side can string three passes together. You know, for us, it's Harry Amass and Barry Bannon. If the ball goes out from between them two, we're knackered, we're out of ideas. So actually, I'm hoping that it creates a proper, you know, like loads of tackles flying in. And yeah, I hope it makes it a bit of a throwback game, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mark, how does he set this up then? Obviously, it's away at Wednesday. Does he go for it?
I don't think he will, because I think he's going to be too conscious of the fact that we can be cut apart easily. I agree. I think it's going to be an absolutely dreadful game of football. I don't see any way United win. And the reason I say that is because whilst Wednesday are poor, they've got a threadbare squad and all of what's going on at Hillsborough. What they have got is they've got this kind of band of brothers mentality at the moment, or it seems that way, where they're actually fighting them against the world, this siege mentality. And I think, you know, no matter the circumstances of any derby, it's going to be a full house and passionate and, you know, the animosity. And I think that alone will put the adrenaline in the blue and white shirts to get them over the line. And I think our lads, as has just been said, we haven't got an identity. They are not a true Chris Wilder side. They're a bunch of strangers. When we've been and beaten Wednesday comfortably before, we've done it with a Chris Wilder identity team, and you felt confident about it. I can see this bunch of cowards just rolling over. First goal goes in, and I fear it. You know, I really fear it. It'll be an embarrassing score from the United point of view. But I think it's going to be ugly. It's just going to be all about heart, blood, and guts, and that's it.
Dan, how do you see it going? Do you agree with Mark?
No, I don't. I don't. To be honest, I think Chris Wilder's not going to set his team up in a derby to sit in and invite Wednesday on. He's going to want to go for it. He's going to want to be on the front foot. Definitely that. I think he's going to go and play strongest side available to him, and going to want to go and win game. I think it's. I don't know. I think we're all expecting it to be a poor game. I've got a feeling it might be surprisingly a decent one, but we'll see. I mean, it's been a tough ride. I think more so for Wednesday than it has us. But as we were talking earlier about the decisions both clubs have made in the summer, I think the one I keep alluding to on this podcast is our season will finish when they appointed Ruben Sellers, because you've changed something that's gone from doing so well last year to bang average, and then you've gone back to it and you're expecting him to sort all this out now. So I don't know. It's going to be one of them. It's going to be a tight one. I do agree with Mark in one respect that the togetherness of the Wednesday team at the moment, they're picking results up in the situation that they're in, which is commendable to them. And I just think after that, if the game's tight and you want to bring a couple of kids on, will the type of game be a little bit too far from? Who knows? We're gonna find out on Sunday, aren't we? But it doesn't feel like it's a derby game coming up after what both clubs have been through. It just feels like one that you just want to think, not interested, move on to the next one. But it's we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Okay. Cheers. Matt, do you see this being? I know you want it to be a League One fixture next season, but do you honestly think it will be?
No, no, I don't. If I'm being completely honest, yes, Mark, I would love it to be a League One fixture. Can I see it? No. I think with a transfer window, if we're having this conversation in February, then I think it's a different issue, or March, I think it's a completely different issue. I honestly think that there's a lot of time left. I know there is a gap that's starting to form at the bottom. It's 3 points at the minute. It's not, it's not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. And I also just look at the depth that is there from a United perspective compared to the others who were around them in that area. I just think also there is absolutely no way that Chris Wilder, with the relationship that he has with the football club, by hook or by crook, he will find a way to make it work there just enough. Do I think long term that is good enough for what has been invested into the squad, invested into the football club? I think that's a different argument, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think for this season, I think Sheffield United will stay up. Do I think it'll be comfortable? No, I'd say anywhere between 14th down, I think, is realistic, just because it's so fits and starts over the first part of the season.
Can tell you've not watched as much, Mark.
14th, God, but everyone would accept 14th.
Yeah.
I've gone for bottom three all season, and I maintain that, Matt. I just think with the calls and the players that we've brought in, his hands are tied. It's going to be a big job to hang in there till January. If we're 7 or 8 points adrift, by then we haven't got a chance. It's too big of a job at this level.
I suppose, Dan, I'm just looking at it and just thinking, compared to if say for argument's sake, some of the sides that are around you do get injuries to key players, they just don't have anybody to bring in. I know you were talking about.
We haven't got anybody to begin with.
And this is where I suppose from outside of it, this is where I kind of obviously would differ, which is again why I do I comment on the videos very regularly, because I do appreciate the fact that this is from a Sheffield United perspective, listening in from a blue and white side of the city. It is a very honest perspective, and three people who sit there and just tell it like it is, which is really refreshing. I just can't see it compared to some of the dross that's down there and just some of the mess that is down there. I just think you'll have enough to stay up.
I think we are part of that dross, and we are. People, I keep no disrespect, Matt, but I keep hearing this story about we'll get out of it and we'll get to January and we'll. Number one, in January, who's going to want to come to us? Who are you going to ring? Now then, lads, do you fancy relegation? No, they're just going to say no. I'm shocked if anybody has seen anything from them first Sellers and Wilder games. I don't know what they've seen. I don't know what they've seen to suggest that we can claw our way out of that. And you can say what? Name three teams worse than us at minute, because other than yourselves, and that's probably in your defence, that's by default more than anything else. Name another two, because I can't think of one.
I've seen this week these repeated comments about Hamer coming back and Arblaster coming back.
I know.
Great, wonderful. But you've got two players, one who's had a potentially career-threatening injury, been out a year. The other lad who's they're going to try and rush him back probably sooner than he wants to be because they need him. He might well go in January anyway because they'll be interested trying to pick him up. So that means we've got possibly 2 months with these lads where maybe they might be able to keep us in touch. And both of them have got injury problems. I think people are expecting too much. I just don't see that that's going to be the salvation to get us through to January.
I agree.
Okay. Right, let's do a quick score prediction, shall we, on the back of all that. Connor, take it for the Blades for us.
I'll try and be positive, and I'll go with a cheeky 1-0 Blades.
Okay, Matt.
I think there's a guarantee that Sheffield United score at the start of both halves because we cannot keep a clean sheet in the first 10 minutes of anything, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to hope a game of football breaks out. Not a good one. I'm going to go for 2-2.
Oh, I'll take that. As for a neutral anyway, brilliant. Cheers, Matt. Appreciate you always coming on here and all the good humour that you bring with it. Appreciate it. Let's hope it's a decent game. Cheers, Matt.
Cheers all. Thanks, guys.
Cheers,
Matt.
Cheers.
There we are. See, there are some decent ones. Decent ones around. Right, before we move on then...
You couldn't get any worse than the last one you fetched on.
Yeah, we've sacked him now, don't worry.
We've gone back to the zoo, that lad.
Right, control yourself. If you haven't yet subbed, please do so. We're 900. Thank you so much for all the 900 people that have subbed on this channel. Look, we know there's so many good Blades content out there. This is just, like Matt said, 3-4 honest guys telling it like it is. No words minced at all. We're not affiliated to the club. We don't talk to the club. It is just us telling it as it is. And we really appreciate all the love. Right then, Fair Play League. We want to chat about just briefly. Do you know, Connor, where you sit in the Fair Play League? Would you have any ideas?
I'm not sure in terms of cards, but I saw stats the other day, and I think there were only about maybe 3 teams that had more fouls than us in league. So I'm gonna go off that. Probably not very good. But in United's defence, how many referees are appalling and give free kicks for no yellow? They put a good tackle in, they get booked for it, and vice versa. You know what I mean? They're very distorted, the figures, I would say.
Yeah, well, this might tell a different story, though, because you are the 5th nicest team to play against. You are at the top of the Fair Play League, or you're 5th.
That's because Hamer's not been playing, that's why.
Yeah, 24 yellow cards.
Not brave enough to put a tackle in.
This is it. Yeah, so maybe that just paints a picture, doesn't it? That you are, you are nicer. There's only Oxford, Bristol, West Brom, and Ipswich which are above you in that regard. So yeah, maybe we need to see a bit more of a.
And that's from the same team that got fined multiple years, multiple times last year for all these brawls and on-pitch confrontations. So that gives a real analysis of the difference in the 2 seasons.
And guess whose fault that were from our supporters? Guess whose fault that were? Chris Wilder's. That's all I'm going to say about it. What? That's a losing battle we're fighting.
I'd rather see players fight though, mate.
Exactly.
It shows that they've got that passion and they're bothered and they care about club. And then when you like we keep going on about with Campbell, and you're seeing players just walk around pitch and not being fully committed, I'd much rather see them fighting at full time, because so I know that they care rather than what we're doing now.
Finally this week then, as we've been doing in previous weeks, it is the A to Z of Sheffield United. We're up to the letter F this week. So, group discussion here rather than one each. Who should get in for F?
Janoga Fjord's off for me.
What a player.
I'd say an obvious one is recent times, John Fleck. Obviously, I think 200 odd games for us, unbelievable. For a really historic one that maybe no one will say, I only know about him because I've read a few United books. William Fatty Folk Legendary goalkeeper. He's got world record for being fattest goalkeeper ever. There used to be a game the opposition forwards played against him were to see who could knock him off. Madly enough, I think he played something like close to 400 games for us, won FA Cup twice with us, and yeah, he's just a really iconic person in our history. We never got to see him play alive, but him or John Fleck for me.
Okay. Any more?
I've got two Fs which are coincidental and related, but not actually for United. I would say Filbert Street and Feethams, because in the modern history, they're the 2 days where we've both won promotion, taken the biggest away support, and probably the most memorable days of many United's lives.
Good shouts. Any more?
I've got a right back from League One promotion season, Kieran Freeman.
Yeah.
Chipped it, got double figures in goals, I think, for us, and just one of them players what come around that time where you probably didn't expect him to be like pull up any trees or as good at just like a free transfer from Derby or whatever it were. But
yeah,
what a season he had at right back. I mean, it put all our forwards to shame now. That's how good they were in front of goal. It was just. He always seemed to get down that. I mean, we replaced him with Baldock, but when we went a bit higher up leagues, but for that League One and start at Championship season, like what a right back he were. I mean, he like an hero, zero to hero story. Really, he weren't even getting picked. We had Brayford, I think, at time as well, and he just, like I said, it put all our strikers to shame now.
Okay, some good shouts there. Which one are we going with then?
Fleck.
Yeah, Fleck, just for the fact we've actually all seen him play.
Okay.
Can we have a joint one then? Can we have Fleck and Freeman? Because I think both played a big part in that promotion, didn't they?
All right. We'll go with that. Right. Next time we'll be chatting then. We'll be reviewing how the trip to Hillsborough has gone. So, fingers crossed.
Are you supplying us with black armbands just in case?
Yeah, I think I might just have to turn the volume on my headphones down if you've lost that one. We'll see in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you all very much for watching. We love making this content for you. 20-25 minutes of Blaze chat every single week. Do press the subscribe button and drop us a comment, and we'll read some of these out next week. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the international break.